let's take a look at what that looks like. So this is pretty interesting. So if you guys look at this, and let me move it so you can actually see what they correspond to over here. It's pretty interesting. You guys are very kind of widely spread here. A lot of people focusing on human capital like education. Certainly a lot of folks thinking institutions or technology are important. Physical capital, like types of infrastructure are important, as well as international trade. This is great in some sense because all of these are plausible factors. We're going to talk about them today and in the next lecture and the role they'll be playing in growth. And we'll also talk about what the consensus is within economics. There's actually two of these that I would say most economists would focus on, but I'm not going to get out of that. We're going to get to it later today, next time. So just keep in mind the range of views. I'm new to clickers. I'm just trying to figure this out. You guys have to cut me some slack. But I don't want to give a punchline before we go to the models. When we get to the models, it's going to be clear sort of what the different factors are, and we're going to circle back to this issue. But just remember what you answered, and just remember that a lot of smart people in this room thinking about it for a minute and 58 seconds had a lot of different views on this issue. Okay. So let's get into the model. The goal of our model is to explain income per capita. We spoke last time and a little bit this time about other dimensions of development and how income is in everything. Health matters, education matters, environment matters, inequality matters, gender inequality matters, a lot of other things. We don't want to say they're not important. It's just for analytical tractability. We're going to focus on this one thing that we think correlates with a lot of other things. But we can bring in the limitations a little later. So we're going to call income per capita little y. It's sort of a convention in economics and in some modeling that capital letters are the quantity itself, like income, and lowercase letters are that quantity per capita, just for simplicity. And what are the inputs? We're going to imagine that one key issue is going to be the capital stock, which we're going to call K. Capital stock per capita, little k. Now in richer models, we very often distinguish between physical capital and human capital. Here we're going to call them the same thing, but at different points we're going to think and speak analytically about the difference between these two. But again, just more for notational simplicity and for the algebra, we're going to combine physical and human capital together in this case. So what's physical capital? Again, machinery in a factory is physical capital. Infrastructure is physical capital. Tractors on a farm is capital. That's physical capital. Human capital are things like your education. So you guys are accumulating human capital now. Hopefully you're learning skills that will be useful for you in some way, studying in college, in grad school, taking an extra class. It doesn't only have to be school learning, though. Your human capital could be really any skill that's productive. So if you didn't learn a skill in school, but you did an apprenticeship, or you practiced on your own. So if I want to become a chef, I could practice. I could torture my wife at home and cook for her every day until I get better, and hopefully get better cooking skills, and then I could open a restaurant. Health is a dimension of human capital. Why is health a dimension of human capital? Well, if I'm healthy, I can be more productive. I can be stronger. I can work longer hours. I can carry bigger loads. I can think more clearly if I'm healthy. Everybody knows that if you have the flu, you can't think clearly. So it's not even just physical strength, but even your cognitive performance has been shown to suffer when you're sick. So there's a lot of dimensions of human capital. And what makes human capital different than just some sort of innate ability per se is it's something you invest in. That's why it's called capital. It's human capital. So you're spending time right now. All of you could be working now and making money, but you're not. You're studying. You're kind of withdrawing from the labor force, at least partially, to invest in your skills with the hope that it'll upgrade your skills and you'll be more productive in the workforce, or you'll be a happier person, or whatever other return you want from your time in college. Similarly, if I'm cooking every day, I'm spending a lot of time practicing a skill to get better. If I was just born Rachel Ray or one of these like chefs, then it's not really human capital in the same way. Right? I'm not investing to gain skill. It's not capital the way we think about capital. It's just like my skill level, innate skill level. And same thing for health. How can we think of health as capital? What are some thoughts? Well, what's one input into your health capital? One way to invest in your health capital. Yeah. Nutrition would be like the first order kind of basic investment in health. If you don't eat well, you're not going to be healthy. If you don't eat at all, you're not going to be healthy. So spending money continually every day, eating healthy food, eating sufficient food, is going to improve your health. What's another way you invest in your health? Yeah. Exercise. So again, exercising is something you do that actually improves your health later. So it has an investment component. You could be sitting on the couch, but you're in the gym. Yeah. Utilizing healthcare, there are forms of preventative healthcare and other forms of health investments. You can think of vaccines and other things that may be costly now. I don't like getting an injection, but make me healthier later. So an investment is something you spend time, energy, and money on now to have a better outcome later. So that's why it's a health investment. What about technology? Again, sometimes when people write down growth models like this, they distinguish between different aspects of technology. You actually think of a lot of different ways of dimensions of technology. There's two main dimensions, and we're going to group them again into what we're calling A here, partially because that's a convention in at least part of growth literature, and partially for simplicity. So what is A? Some of this technology A, really is the production process. So a technology is a way of organizing economic production. So a technology, for instance, that was revolutionary was the assembly line. Assembly line manufacturing. It was an idea of how to make production more efficient. You didn't actually necessarily need that much more capital. It was just a question of lining everybody up one after another that made everything go much faster and more efficient. That's a technology. It's a new process, a new way of organizing production. And with the same amount of capital, you could produce a lot more when you have a better A, a better technology. But there's other dimensions of A. One is social organization or institutions. So think of A as anything that structures the way capital is utilized and how effectively and efficiently capital is utilized. So if we're in a setting where economic policy is really good and property rights are protected, and so I'm someone who doesn't worry about the government seizing my land or seizing my capital, I'm going to use my capital more effectively than if I'm in a setting where my property rights are very insecure and I may be afraid to invest. I may want to hide my money or send it abroad or do something else with it. What are some other types of policies or institutions you think could go into A, other than property rights protection? Yeah. Okay, so explain why that's an A factor. Okay, so that's an interesting idea. I want to ask people a question. Is that an A factor or a K factor? Or both? So you're framing it in an interesting way. What are people's views on that? Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So you're saying there's like a system, maybe an institution, an organization, a ministry that can effectively maintain the roads. So that would be an institution, but it's an institution that allows you to have effectively more infrastructure, which you can think of as K, which allows you to be that much more productive. So it's framed in an interesting way. I think it is a nice case because there are a lot of things that kind of straddle the A-K line here. So the institution is an A factor, but it helps us harness more K. Maybe a well-organized, very similar things. A well-organized, efficient educational system allows us to accumulate more human capital. But it's really the institution that determines the human capital accumulation, maybe. So it's a little bit similar to your case. Yeah.
Why is human capital? Is there capital not part of the capital?
So you're saying it would go into A, basically. Explain more why it would be. What's your view on why it would be technology rather than input? What's your? Okay, what are people's thoughts on that? Is human capital an A factor or a K factor? Or both, again? Yeah. Okay? Because it allows you to develop new technologies maybe, or? Okay, Tara? Yeah. That's right. So you guys it's an interesting point. When people don't just put A up here, but they model the evolution of A, human capital is very often an input into A, as it would have to be. So having skilled scientists and engineers is going to be critical for determining A. So that's a K factor that's going to drive A. We've already talked about A factors that will affect K. So the system is complex. Yeah. What do you think? So dimensions of the natural environment could clearly be K in the sense that there could literally be inputs, and you would think of those as K, but you're saying it could affect productivity A. So explain why. Yeah. So let's just say land. Imagine we're thinking not just of a factory here, but we're thinking of agricultural production. Where would land go here? Would land be an A or a K? I mean, that's the most basic sort of resource. Yeah. I think probably land is a K. We're going to come to it a little bit with the Bloom effects, but can folks think of why geography might be an A, or some aspects of geography that are really be A factors rather than K factors? Yeah. Say that again? You're saying research and development. Research and development would probably affect A. We would think of that as something that would boost A, I think. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to classify because some of that is going to go to building better A, and some of it's going to provide skilled engineers that are more like K, human capital. Let me get back to this issue of land and where land should go. Yeah. Yeah, so do you have an explanation for why geography? What aspects of geography would go better in A? If we agree that sort of just like basic like land as an input would go in K, what aspects of geography would go in K? What aspects of geography would go in A? That's my question. Yeah. So I think that's a great point. So if you think of, land is K, but really what allows it to be productive is this overall technological institutional environment. Maybe a big shift in climate would just affect how much you can produce with a given amount of land. So maybe that's an A factor. Now, what's another dimension here? Yeah. Yeah, so that's what Bloom and Sachs often talk about is things like being landlocked, river access, how hilly you are. All these kinds of topographical and geographic factors allow you to get your product to market and therefore allow you to be more or less productive. So some basic geographic factors, are going to matter. And it gets back a little bit to the point we were talking about, is this transportation infrastructure, is it kind of A or K? And there's some ambiguity around that. I think when you think of a river versus a road, it kind of, again, gets us into that, that space. Yeah.
So I think they're both like land is independent on K and E together.
I see.
Have to see different like areas how land.
So A is related to location in some sense. That's an interesting idea. And it relates to this geography point. Yeah. I see. So just being open to trade and new ideas could matter a lot. Yeah. So sort of that's an interesting point. Let's take one more on this. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think one of the thrusts of what I want to kind of build on the discussion here is just how interconnected A and K are. Technically, we are going to take A as exogenous, and we're going to derive steady state K endogenously. So in some sense, you're right in how you're framing it. That's what the model is going to imply. What you said, the model is going to be simplified. I mean, in some sense, what we're talking about here is all the complexities. The model is only going to get into some of them about these interrelationships between A and K. In the model, A is going to drive steady state K. So in that sense, A is going to be exogenous and K is going to be endogenous. I think that's what you said. But as we talked about, K also shapes A in reality because of, say, R&D and other things. So it's a much more complex system than what we're going to go through. We're going to do a really classic version of the model, but you guys are highlighting effectively a lot of its limitations, which is good. So let me go to the framework, and then we'll get back to the limitations. So let's talk about what production looks like now that we've gone through A and K in terms of broad understanding of these variables, as well as how they might interact in more complicated ways. So production Y, income per capita, is some function of A and K, which is A, technology, institutions, this whole thing, times K raised to the power alpha, where alpha is between 0 and 1. So what does it mean for alpha to be between 0 and 1? If alpha were 1, then income per capita would increase linearly in capital, right? It would just be like a straight line with slope A. But because alpha is less than 1, we have what's called concavity, meaning we're increasing at a less than linear rate. And that means every additional unit of capital is effectively buying you less output than the last unit of capital. So if you go from no capital to those first few units of capital, they're very productive. When you're already, say, very rich and you have very high per capita income, you have a lot of capital per capita, every additional unit sort of buys you a little bit less. So if I already have high-speed internet and I already have great technology, I already have great skills, I've already got 3 PhDs as a worker, that fourth PhD isn't going to pay off that much, right? Or equivalently, if we just go back to the education example and think of K in terms of human capital, we tend to see some concavity in earnings with more schooling. So going from an undergrad degree to a master's degree is associated with higher earnings in the data for the U.S. If you go from a master's degree to a PhD, actually the concavity is so severe that your average earnings start falling. So just go up to the master's level. That's all I'm going to tell you. I'm sorry, Leon. I don't know if Pierre's even here, but just stay there. It gets so concave at some point. But anyway, that's the idea. That going from high school to college has this big return. College to a master's degree has a return, and then beyond that, it probably flattens out. At best. Okay, so this is the decreasing marginal returns point. The return to capital investment is highest when you don't have that much capital. And this is sort of a fundamental assumption in a lot of production functions that we see. It's not universal, and there are instances where you actually think you may need some scale of investment to reap returns. So this is called decreasing returns. Concavity is decreasing returns. There's some other models of increasing returns. Maybe you need like a massive big push of investment to get up to profitable scale. We're not going to focus on those models as much, but at some point in the term they're going to kind of come up. So we'll hopefully get a chance to circle back to those increasing returns models. But this is decreasing returns. Okay, so within this framework, really by definition, what's going to be driving output is A and K. Better technology makes you richer. More capital makes you richer. What's going to be, what I hope, interesting about this course is going beyond just saying, oh, we need better institutions or we need more capital. This framework is going to give us some insight, but it's also going to leave some things unanswered that we're going to get into during the course of the term. Like, where do good institutions come from? How do we get better health measures that are human capital inputs? How do we achieve better education? What are the types of incentives or organization of school systems that can matter? And on and on. So, the goal of this course is to go beyond simply saying, oh, to get rich, all you need is just lots of capital. Well, that's too simple. So that's the first step, not the last step. But this model will give us some insight and will also highlight where we need to go. So let me just go through one more slide and we'll wrap up. What's going to be really critical for us in a growth model is capital accumulation, change in capital. So we're going to represent that change in capital by what we call K dot. So anybody who's taking calculus or differential equations or whatnot is very familiar with this kind of notation. This is the change in capital from last period to this period. And in governing this evolution of the capital stock, we're going to make a couple of standard assumptions for a simple growth model. But there's going to be a lot of cases that don't fit under these assumptions. We'll talk about them. One assumption is, as a starting point, is we're going to assume we're in a closed economy. We're going to assume there isn't the possibility of international capital flows. In the next lecture, we're going to weaken this assumption. But for now, let's just assume that people are accumulating locally in their own economy, for simplicity, or else it gets more complicated. That's the first assumption. The second assumption is we're going to take the share of income that's invested or saved as given, S. Little s is going to be the share of income that's saved. Again, that's not an ideal assumption, right? You might think that under certain conditions you want to save more or invest more, in other conditions you won't. And finally, we're going to assume that there's some depreciation of capital in each period. So if you have a machine, there's some chance it'll break. That's depreciation of physical capital. Depreciation of human capital is, 10 years after you took that really advanced math class in college, you don't remember all the details of it anymore. That's sort of depreciation of skill or knowledge. Another form of depreciation of human capital would be death. So there's some investment in human capital. If you think economy-wide, people die, you lose that skill, basically. So there's some depreciation of human capital. So let's leave off there. We're going to start at this point next time and then go through the solution of the model.